Okay, so picture this, right? It's the 1990s, no smartphones.
Right.
Like none. No social media.
Yeah.
People are out there like living their lives offline. You'd think privacy must have been so much easier back then, but that's where we come in.
Right.
We're going deep, deep into a world where surveillance, oh yeah, it was alive and kicking, hiding in plain sight in the technology of the day.
Totally. Lurking in the shadows.
Exactly. So our guide on this little trip back in time is, get this, a 1993 newsletter. The name, The Inside Secrets.
Catchy.
Right. Now, this wasn't some, like, underground thing. This went out to, like, actual detectives.
Private investigators, the real deal.
Yeah. And it was all about, the tools of the trade, the tricks, the tech, a peek behind the curtain.
Absolutely.
And what's wild is how casually they talk about illegal surveillance.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was just like Tuesday.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, right, if the court-ordered stuff was just the tip of the iceberg.
Who else was watching and why? That's what this newsletter kind of hints at.
A whole industry kind of operating in this gray area.
Unseen, yeah.
So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
First up, hardwiring. Sounds fancy.
It's not, well, kind of is.
Right. It's basically planting these tiny microphones. But the wires, man, tiny.
Talking like hair thin.
Hidden in plain sight, like you'd never know.
Painted over, woven into carpets. They got creative.
They even made them look like part of the phone line.
Sneaky, right.
And the thing is, it worked because it was using, like, everyday tech.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was suspicious of a lamp cord, right?
Exactly. And there's this one thing, right, in the newsletter. A bug made to look like a speaker.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Like a regular speaker, just sitting there.
But wired up to a hidden recorder.
Bingo.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Makes you look at your living room differently, right?
Right. It's like, what is safe? But that's the thing, right? This newsletter, it's almost like admiring the craft, the ingenuity, taking something ordinary.
And turning it into a tool of espionage.
Exactly. And this one example, the speaker as microphone thing,
Yeah.
that just blew my mind. It's like, back then, you really had to understand how this stuff worked. Even the stuff that seemed totally innocent.
Right. Because it could be turned against you.
Exactly. And that takes us right to, guess what? Phones.
Oh, yeah, phones. Before smartphones even?
Yeah.
Landlines.
Like prime target.
Oh, totally. This newsletter, it gets into the weeds a bit here. They talk about this thing called an auto-recording control.
Okay, so not a catchy name, but what is it?
Basically a little box, right? Like you could buy it at Radio Shack.
No way.
Yeah. You hook it up and boom, recording every word. No tech skills needed.
So they're saying back then, tapping a phone was like plugging in a toaster?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Get to the phone jack. Maybe even just the wires themselves.
Game over.
Conversations being recorded. Just like that.
It's like this point they keep making in this thing, right? Any tech that sends info, vulnerable.
Always.
Mhm.
And it's like even more true now, it's not wires so much anymore.
Right. It's like the Wi-Fi, the data stream.
Exactly. But the vulnerability, same idea.
So all that worry about tapped phones back then.
Just the beginning, really.
Wow. Okay, so phone taps. How'd they actually do it, though? They get all technical, talking about red and green wires.
Right. So inside the phone line, those specific wires, they carry your voice.
Okay.
Someone gets to those, they can make like a copy of the circuit.
Oh.
They hear everything, but the phone still works normally.
So it's not just like cutting the line, splicing in a recorder.
Yeah, it's more elegant than that. You got to know what you're doing.
Which, they make it sound easy.
Well, that's the thing. It kind of was. Back then, the tech was simpler.
So accessible, then. Didn't need a, like, government lab or something.
Exactly. They even mention, get this, bubble gum?
Wait, what?
Yeah, for sealing up the wires after you splice them. Like DIY espionage.
Bubblegum and spies. Who knew? But it's interesting, right? They're so focused on physical access.
Totally. A different era, right? More risk, more hands-on.
Today, it's all, like, hacking from your mom's basement.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to get your hands dirty.
Literally, with the bubble gum.
Yeah.
But it shows how surveillance has always evolved.
Speaking of which, cordless phones.
Mm.
You'd think, right? Wireless? More private?
You think so?
Yeah.
But this newsletter, they say those early ones were basically broadcasting your business.
Get out, like out loud, to the whole world.
Pretty much. They were like little radio stations sending out signals. Anyone with a scanner, the right frequency, they're listening in.
No way. So we're not talking like fancy spy gear here.
Nope. This newsletter, they even say like regular scanners, you could buy them anywhere, could pick this stuff up.
Seriously. How far are we talking?
Up to a mile, they say.
A mile.
A mile. So you're telling me someone's sitting in their car, down the block.
Eating a burger, listening to your every word. Privacy, what privacy? Gone. And this is back when cordless phones were supposed to be like, freedom! You know.
Right, that was the pitch. Roam around your house.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, someone's listening in from their Winnebago.
It's like, did anyone even have e-privacy back then? I mean, if this was all out in the open?
Well, that's where it gets kind of interesting. The newsletter, it touches on this legal gray area.
Okay, so like, if everyone knew the W, these phones were leaky.
Did you really have a right to expect privacy? That was the argument some folks were making. It's like, how much does technology shape what we think is private?
Right. If it's, like, built to be overheard. Okay, so we've got the scanner, right? People are picking up conversations left and right.
Oh, and it gets better. Remember those auto-recording things? For landlines?
Yeah, like plug it in, record everything.
They had them for scanners, too.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. Someone sets up shop near your house, scanner's running, hooked up to a recorder.
They could be recording for days.
Tapes are spinning, baby. Cordless phone calls, all logged, cataloged, and they never even set foot on your property.
It's creepy, man. Like, I thought the 90s were supposed to be chill. This
Yeah.
is anything BUT chill.
That's the thing, right? We think of surveillance, it's all like high-tech, facial recognition, all that.
Right, smartphones, the internet, Big Brother.
But this newsletter, it's a reminder, that stuff. It's just the latest chapter. The anxieties, the vulnerabilities, they've always been there, alongside the tech.
Phones, cordless phones, it didn't matter. Someone was always figuring out how to listen in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next time you're feeling all secure, talking to Siri or Alexa,
Or even just on your phone, walking down the street.
remember this little trip back to the 90s? Makes you think twice, right?
It definitely does. It makes you wonder, are we ever truly not being listened to? Until next time, everybody, stay vigilant.